Question. The Buddhists deny the world, whereas Hindu philosophy admits its existence but calls it unreal. Isn't that so, Bhagwan? It is only a difference of point of view. Question. They say that the world is created by divine energy, Shakti. Is the knowledge of unreality due to the veiling by illusion, Maya? Bhagwan. All admit creation by the divine energy. But what is the nature of this energy? It must be in conformity with the nature of its creation. Question. Are there degrees of illusion? Bhagwan. Illusion itself is illusory. It must be seen by somebody outside it. But how can such a seer be subject to it? So how can he speak of degrees of it? You see various scenes passing on a cinema screen. Fire seems to burn buildings to ashes. Water seems to wreck ships. But the screen on which the pictures are projected remains unburnt and dry. Why? Because the pictures are unreal and the screen real. Similarly, reflections pass through a mirror, but it is not affected at all by their number or quality. In the same way, the world is phenomenon upon the substratum of the single reality, which is not affected by it in any way. Reality is only one. Talk of illusion is due only to the point of view. Change your point of view to that of knowledge, and you will perceive the universe to be only Brahman. Being now immersed in the world, you see it as a real world. Get beyond it, and it will disappear, and reality alone will remain. Writer's note. As the last excerpt shows, the postulate of one universal reality calls for the conception of a process either of illusion or creation to explain the apparent reality of the world. The world is perceived as an apparent objective reality when the mind is externalized, thereby abandoning its identity with the self. When the world is thus perceived, the true nature of the self is not revealed. Conversely, when the self is realized, the world ceases to appear as an objective reality. That is illusion, which makes one take what is ever present and all-pervasive, full to perfection and self-luminous, and is indeed the self and the core of one's being, for non-existence and unreal. Conversely, that is illusion, which makes one take for real and self-existent, which is non-existent and unreal, namely the trilogy of world, ego, and God. To those who have not realized the self, as well as to those who have, the world is real. But to the former, truth is adapted to the form of the world, whereas to the latter, truth shines as the formless perfection and the substratum of the world. This is the only difference between them. As I recalled Bhagwan saying sometimes that unreal, mithya, imaginary, and real means the same, but did not quite understand. I asked him about it. He said, "Yes, I do sometimes say that." What do you mean by real? What is it that you call real? I answered, according to Vedanta, only that which is permanent and unchanging can be called real. That is the meaning of reality. Then Bhagwan said, the names and forms which constitute the world continually change and perish and are therefore called unreal. It is unreal, imaginary, to limit the self to these names and forms, and real to regard all as the self. The non-dualist says that the world is unreal, but he also says all this is Brahman. So it is clear that what he condemns is regarding the world as objectively real in itself, not regarding it as Brahman. He who sees the self alone in the world also. It is immaterial to the enlightened whether the world appear or not. In either case, his attention is turned to the self. It is like the letters and the paper on which they are printed. You are so engrossed in the letters that you forget about the paper, but the enlightened one sees the paper as the substratum, whether the letters appears on it or not. The Vedantis do not say that the world is unreal. That is a misunderstanding. If they did, what would be the meaning of Vedantic text? All this is Brahman. They only mean that the world is unreal as world, but real as self. If you regard the world as non-self, it is not real. Everything, whether you call it illusion or divine play or energy, must be within the self and not apart from it. Devotee. The Vedas contain conflicting accounts of cosmology. Ether is said to be the first creation in one place, vital energy in another, water in another, something else in another. How can all this be reconciled? Does it not impair the credibility of the Vedas? Bhagwan. Different seeds saw different aspects of truth at different times, each emphasizing some viewpoint. Why do you worry about their conflicting statements? The essential aim of the Vedas is to teach us the nature of the imperishable self and show us that we are that. Devotee. About that part I am satisfied. Bhagwan. Then treat all the rest as auxiliary arguments or as expositions for the ignorant who want to know the origin of things. Major Chadwick was copying out the English translation of the Tamil Kaivalya Navanitha when he came across some of the technical terms in it, which he had difficulty in understanding. He accordingly asked Bhagwan about them, and Bhagwan replied, these portions deal with theories of creation. They are not essential because the real purpose of the scripture is not to set forth such theories. They mention the theories casually, so that those readers who wish to may take interest in them. The truth is that the world appears as a passing shadow in a flood of light. Light is necessary even to see the shadow. The shadow is not worth any special study, analysis, or discussion. The purpose of the book is to deal with the self, and what is said about creation may be omitted for the present. Later, Sri Bhagavan continued, Vedanta says that the cosmos springs into view simultaneously with him who sees it, and there is no detailed process of creation. It is similar to a dream where he who experiences the dream arises simultaneously with the dream he experiences. However, some people cling so fast to objective knowledge that they are not satisfied when told this. They want to know how sudden creation can be possible and argue that an effect must be preceded by a cause. In fact, they desire an explanation. They desire an explanation of the world that they see about them. Therefore, the scriptures try to satisfy their curiosity by such theories. This method of dealing with the subject is called the theory of gradual creation. But the true spiritual seeker can be satisfied with instantaneous creation.